Hi everyone, this is Hal Krosman of Screenwriting U, and this is the critique for the second QE cycle. And as you see, I chose Roger Nelson's scene. And before I go much further, let me just say, please pardon my voice. I seem to have something going on for the last 3 or 4 days, and hopefully it'll be over soon. Anyway, I chose Roger Nelson's scene. If you haven't read this scene yet, please pause the recording and go read that scene. The reason why is because I'm going to whip through this assuming you already know this scene. Now, I read through quite a few of the scenes, and when I read this one, you know what? It just seemed to work really well. Roger did a good job on it. It flows nicely. It uses a lot of the techniques. It also is going to help me point out some things I want people to pay a little more attention to. And there's quite a few ways we can improve this scene. So I think it's going to make a big difference for Roger and for everyone else. So starting out, let's take a look up here. His log line: John risked his life to face a gunslinger who killed his friend. Okay. The essence: John's distrustfulness is his downfall since it blinds him to other possibilities. Um, you know, I don't know if all of this part is necessary to really get that, but that's fine. I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk first about character traits, and then we'll look at the interest techniques, and then we're going to talk real seriously about the essence and how it plays out in this story. So first, to talk about character techniques. Let's go through here, and in fact, here let's look at the traits for a second. John: daring, distrustful, loyal, loner. Nick: confident, conniving, rebellious, giving. So let's see where those show up. First, Nick sees a boy admiring him. He tosses him the harmonica. Keep it, just learn to play it right. So this is him being at least somewhat giving. Then Sam and Billy, who are the two gunfighters with him, have this whole conversation about how the boss isn't going to like it, that they're late. And I think this is a strong attempt at showing the rebellious trait. Going down just a little further here, Sam and we're supposed to meet him on North Street. Nick got the sun to our back here, so this is showing him being conniving. So pretty quickly we're getting in most of the traits. What I want you to be aware of also is a lot of these traits are showing up in the midst of the other character's dialogue. Now this is kind of important. That's okay to use as a technique. I like it some of the time, but I want to see Nick delivering his traits on a regular basis, because when the other characters are doing it, it's like they're helping him essentially show who he is and that kind of thing, and that's really nice for a sidekick to do that. But with Nick, those traits should be so much a part of him that he can't talk without them coming out. You know what I mean? It's like it's just a natural part of his core, so it's what he talks through. Okay, Billy: ain't got no one with him. Nick: stupid fool. Now, in this case, I think Roger used both of these to point to John's trait of being a loner. He doesn't have anybody with him, and being daring, which is the stupid fool part. I think the other part is Nick here with the stupid fool has shown us the first evidence of his subtext. He loves manipulating people into bad spots and then taking advantage of him. So he's basically saying, yeah, this guy's exactly what he planned him to be. Let's see. So looking at John's next line down here, Nick says, "This ain't your business. You didn't even know O'Reilly." John says he fixed my arm, gave me some food, a bed. I owe him. So what that's doing is it's showing that John is loyal, which is one of his traits. Nick being a conniving kind of guy. Sure hope you catch his killer. So again, it's showing the conniving. John: I'm looking at him. And we could say this is showing his distrustfulness. I think there's a different way to write it to do that. It's not a bad line, but it doesn't necessarily fit John's traits that well. So let's go a little further. John, I'm guessing you have extra guns around to make sure. And so here he's saying, that there are people who, in fact, down here a little further, he says it too. I heard there were men hiding on the rooftops to help you gun down the sheriff in Reno. So in both those cases, we're seeing his distrustfulness trait. He also is beginning to draw out the worst in Nick. So that's kind of an important part here. But you'll also notice, when he says, I hope you have extra guns, Nick here to face you. Now, if he did have extra guns, then this would be a conniving line. But since he didn't have extra guns, I don't know what trait it actually shows. When John says, I heard you had men hiding on the rooftops to gun down the sheriff. Sam, yeah, he got what he deserved, or he got what he deserved. Billy, yeah, he got what he deserved. In both cases here, we have these guys, helping to confirm something that happened. We're not sure what it is, so there's an implication beneath this, and I'm going to talk about this later on. But the subtext on this and a couple of other places that actually have to do with the essence isn't coming through. I'm not getting that, yes, this guy was a child molester, so he deserved to be killed here. This could be typical any bad guy talk, So anyway, let's see. So John says a couple of things here. I hope you paid your hotel bill. Old Nugget can sure use the cash. Billy, we're at the Queen Victoria, real class. So here we have John tricking them, which is part of John's subtext. He's tricking them into essentially displaying their worst sides. When Billy says that, Nick, draw your gun, Pilgrim, or leave. Again, he's showing his confidence. John, I just don't get why you had to kill O'Reilly's daughter. Once again, he's tricking them. Billy gives it away. Nick, Billy. So Nick's line in this whole thing, we've got a lot going on, and Nick's lines are kind of the least powerful. So I'm kind of concerned about that. So then John now tells the townspeople, that O'Reilly's daughter is alive, to go get her. Okay, so this is his evidence. This is essentially evidence that John has tricked them into showing this stuff, and it kind of fits with what's going on. Then just one more step down here. Billy claims he had nothing to do with it. He didn't touch the girl, and John says, I don't think Billy's interested in women anyway. He likes little boys. Blah blah blah. And Billy, that's enough. And Billy pulls his gun and fires. Now, if we go back just a little bit, there was a line that I thought was kind of peculiar, but John says, if I draw first, I'll be a murderer. Nick says, no, you won't. You'll be dead, which was Nick, by the way, showing his confidence. And so that line ultimately may have been the reason why he did this thing where he got Billy to draw first, by tricking him into, quote, showing his worst side. Okay, one last thing. All the way down at the bottom, finally, after Nick has fallen forward dead, and Billy and Sam are both shot and dead, then Jessica runs out onto the street, to Nick, and she says to John, my father used to, ... too ashamed to say, so we're left to guess what her father did or didn't do. I didn't know what to do. Nick saved me. So at this point, we're finding out that from a trait perspective that Nick was giving, that he actually did, he was helping the girl, and that some of his previous things that were said, he really did mean it. You're making a mistake and stuff like that. All of those things, that subtext, is now finally paid off. The problem was, and this is what I'm going to talk about toward the end, is I think the subtext should have been done a little differently so that when this happened right here, there was a very strong emotional payoff that has about 3 times the impact. So my advice when it comes to dialogue here is that Roger and really everybody else, that before you post your scene, that you say, wait a minute, let me just do one more pass. And what I want you to do is go through and look at your lead characters and say, okay, does Nick say in the words, I'll take care of you later, Billy, does it deliver any of these traits? If that doesn't deliver any of these traits, then pick, one of the traits and say, how can I show that? I mean, you could say that delivers confidence. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I don't think it could deliver rebelliousness. It's not quite that level. The question is, how can you deliver that trait in that situation? Go up a little further. Nick yells Billy. Does that deliver one of these traits? Now, I know what I'm talking about is going to an extreme here, but really what we're doing is we are going out of our way to try to get to the point where you've got these and you do them so well that every time the character speaks, it's coming out of their core traits, it's coming out of who they are, and it does so naturally. So many times to do that, you have to make yourself uncomfortable. You have to step into other areas. Does Nick yelling "Shut up, Billy" deliver one of these traits? And again, you could say confidence, but you know what? "Shut up, Billy" in and of itself doesn't necessarily do that. So, all I'm doing is I'm saying what you want to do is you want to see how can you make it so that you get to the point where every single line pretty much comes out of the core of that character. Okay, now, having said that, and by the way, if you know extreme people, you know they do that. Having said that, the other side of it is what I would like to see done in this particular case is to start to look at these other characters and saying, okay, wait a minute, I've got Billy actually giving character traits for John, giving character traits for Nick. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but if your minor characters are doing that a lot, then first they're not speaking out of who they are, and second, they have a tendency to be taking up the slack of what's missing in your lead characters. So please make sure that you do your best. Give one more pass at the end. Look at every single line and look to see, does it deliver the traits well? And if it doesn't, then how can you rewrite it to deliver at least one trait?